So here's a serious question for you. For once, after that last hour, I should probably get to something serious. Serious question for you. Is there a white elephant in the room of your government system? Let's find out. It's the Bold Republic Radio Show, and since it is a Thursday edition of the Bold Republic Radio Show, that means I head all the way down to Cheyenne, Wyoming. We're patiently waiting by, I hope, is Maureen Bader from Wyoming Liberty Group. How's it down there? Because it's another beautiful day up here, Maureen.
The weather is absolutely gorgeous down here in Cheyenne.
All right, good. Okay, because I just been enjoying getting up in the morning and going for long strolls. I know you like to get out there on your bike, but okay. Let's get into the white elephant, because I thought this was exactly, Maureen, a conversation that I was having with some people like just a couple of days ago. We were looking at some of the construction. I'm here in Gillette, Wyoming. At some of the construction going on, and I said, this is really getting tiresome, but on the one hand, that road was falling apart and we needed the road. On the other hand, if the community is growing like this, we need to get some water here. I'm in favor of the water project. I mean, go ahead here, take my money, go build that. That makes a whole lot of sense. But when we're building things like a $100 million ball field for a town of 30,000 people, but oh wait, we've got to go find a water park as well, because an outdoor water park that's only open 3 months out of the year is going to be nothing but a boom for this town. I mean, people are going to come from all over for something like that. So when you wrote an article about the white elephant, I thought, wow, you are absolutely nailing it, because these community leaders of ours are being sold on the idea that these projects will bring their community big bucks, more taxpayers, right?
Yeah, but I mean, if that were really true, then why hasn't the private sector stepped up to the plate to do it? Well, they probably haven't, because they know that they're not going to make any money at it. And that's the big difference between private sector investment and government sector spending, is that when you're using your own money, you're a lot more careful, because if you lose it, well, you're in big trouble. Of course, as the politicians and bureaucrats lose taxpayer dollars, I guess we just need to spend more.
Yeah.
I tell you, it's a death spiral.
I would like to see, this is just a theory I've had over the years, that let's say some politician, a mayor, builds a big ballpark, and they always want a plaque with their name on it. Well, if the ballpark ends up being, like you're saying, a white elephant, then we should replace the plaque with a big statue of them. And let everybody know that this fell apart and cost the town this much money, and here's the guy who did it.
Or what you could do is give them a little award that looks like a pig.
Yeah, that'd be really good. Yeah. Speaking of Gillette, you sent me this note just a little while ago. Gillette requests a $275,000 community enhancement grant to construct a 400 square foot restroom facility. Wow, $275,000 for a restroom. Wow. I hope that...
Wouldn't you like to have one of those in your house?
Yeah. Geez. I mean, I hope the urinals are heated. The seats, are heated in the wintertime. So when you sit down in minus 10 degrees, I mean, you could at least have that for that kind of money. So that includes water and sewer to the site, parking lot improvements at the southwest corner of 3rd and Kendrick Streets in downtown Gillette. That's walking distance from where I am.
Well, now maybe you should call the mayor, maybe, and have him interview and ask him why those seats going to be heated, because $275,000 for a 400 square foot restroom facility doesn't seem a bit extreme.
I know this is going to come as a shock to you, Maureen, but the mayor hates my guts.
I can't imagine why that might be.
And she refuses to talk to me. And the reason she refuses to talk to me and hates my guts is because I talk about things like this. Why would it cost that much money? Why would you build this? Go ahead and spend money on actual improvements that we really do need in the community. Because again, if a road is crumbling and you want to replace the road, absolutely. That's why we hired you people in the first place. But okay, I don't know what they expect to. Okay, I tell you what. Here, I'll help them out. I'm going to see, Maureen, if I can help the mayor out. Folks, Gillette, Wyoming will soon have a $275,000 toilet for you to sit on. I encourage you to come to Wyoming, come to Gillette, use it, take pictures of it, take a selfie on it. Post it on Facebook. There we go. Maybe the mayor will like me now.
Yeah,
No.
somehow.
So what is it, Maureen? Why? I mean, you got into this in your article. Why do they keep falling for this?
Well, the thing with corporate welfare is it gives politicians the opportunity to appear to be doing something, which is especially convenient for them right before the next election. That's one of the big reasons. And of course, we're moving into a period now of slower economic growth, downfall in mineral revenues. And what's going to be happening is, I mean, people are going to start losing their jobs. People are going to be calling on government to do something about it. I mean, at the end of the day, we really only have ourselves to blame if government grows and grows and grows and grows. Because, I mean, if you go, if somebody goes to the mayor and says, hey, there's that space, what would be really handy is a restroom. Well, she's gonna do it because she's responding to the needs of her constituents. But in fact, what's happening is she's responding to the needs of some constituents at the expense of others, and that's what people need to understand. That whenever government spends a dollar, it's taking a dollar from someplace else. And the reason I'm going to be writing a series of articles on different aspects of corporate welfare in the state is because next week, the State Loan and Investment Board is going to rubber stamp about $17 million in handouts for about 30 separate proposals. And of course, the Gillette bathroom is one of those.
Oh,
and
go ahead.
Today,
you're hearing sounds of disgust while you're talking. I don't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Okay. So one of the things that I was writing about this week was what I call the white elephant here in Cheyenne. And what we're likely to see next week is the State Loan and Investment Board rubber stamp about $3 million in state funding for a new multi-million-dollar airport in Cheyenne. And, people who are listening and are concerned about this should know that the SLIB board, that's the State Loan and Investment Board, is made up of Governor Meade, Treasurer Mark Gordon, Auditor Cynthia Cloud, Secretary of State Ed Murray, and Superintendent of Public Instruction Julian Balo. Those are our 5 elected officials. Those are the people that rubber stamp these kinds of things. Yeah. And if these are things that you are concerned about, then listeners need to give these people a call and let them know that this kind of handout is completely unacceptable. And if they make their views known, what people should understand is that it's the voters that matter more than the people asking for the businesses and the politicians and the bureaucrats asking for these corporate welfare programs.
Well,
because at the end of the day, those people need to get reelected, and that's what matters to them more than anything else.
Well, now, Maureen, the voters don't show up at the same cocktail parties, and the voters, their kids don't play soccer with the politician kids. And so since the voters don't have that kind of incestuous and crony capitalist kind of relationship, why should they pay attention to the voters?
But the thing is, voters don't speak out against this. And it's got to do with this thing we call in economics concentrated benefits and dispersed costs. So sure, it's $17 million in state funding that's going to fund these 30 projects. It's $275,000 to some construction company in Gillette. You could bet they're going to be whining and dining the mayor, but you who are paying for it, you're only paying maybe a few cents because all of the taxpayers in Wyoming are going to have to ante up for that. That's the underlying problem there. But what people need to understand is that, when I go to those meetings, the SLIB board meeting or other meetings where they're talking about handing out big amounts of money to private concerns, is that all you hear in the public comment are how great this is. You never hear anybody stand up and say, like me, for instance, this is a waste of money. You're giving this handout. You're creating all kinds of disincentives for real business. You might actually be hurting real businesses. What we need to see at these meetings, and I know it's hard because people are working, but or even phone calls or writing or emails to your legislators or emails to the governor or some of the state elected officials is showing your concern that you don't want to see businesses getting public dollars like this. Because if they never hear anything from anybody, they're going to figure that everybody thinks this is great. Because of course it's great for them, it's great for their friends, it's great for the people they golf with, but it's not great for the state. Because what it does is create an environment of crony capitalism, as we saw in the case of Solyndra, and it's just like Solyndra. Wyoming ethanol, you've got the Chevy Volt, I mean, you could just go on and on and on with these different scams that crafty business people have brought to the politicians to say, look, I can create all these jobs, I can do all these little things. All you ever hear are the positives. You don't hear the negatives, where you have things like Solyndra. That was a $535 million hit to taxpayers. The people who were part of Solyndra, making the big salaries, they walked off with that. Mm-hmm. But what do we get left with? We get left with the bill. So it's great for people who get the corporate welfare, but for everyone else, it's very bad. And for the country, it's bad too, because it creates an environment of corruption and crony capitalism.
Well, let's talk about one of the bad stories. Now, again, I know this is going to be a big shock to you, but I made a mayor of another town mad at me. This is back when I was at another radio station in Wyoming, in Gillette. And the boss yelled at me, but I just kept doing it on the air anyway. I didn't stop. That's because I'm a jerk that way. Wright, Wyoming. I was picking on them because they wanted to build a visitor center in Wright. Mm-hmm. Now, You've been through Wright. If you blink, you missed it. Now, it's two back highways that meet together. The visitor center is off down the less of the two used highways and down sort of in a hole where if you didn't happen to turn your head way over that way, you would drive right by the visitor center. So it's not even on the corner of the two highways there. It costs over $1 million just to build it, and it's very expensive to maintain it. Well, I just posted something on Facebook a couple of weeks ago. Wright, Wyoming is so small, so distant. They're losing their post office. It's closing. Thank God. We built the visitor center. Oh, thank God. Yeah. I'm just so glad. So that's the kind of story that we need to hand to the governor, the mayor, and the other people who supported that and say, here's yet another white elephant. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, that's the thing. When the Wyoming Business Council creates these programs, what it does is create an incentive for people like your mayor to go to them and look for handouts so they can build these big, nice, ribbon-cutting types of projects that are going to have, as you mentioned, these big maintenance costs, instead of looking at really simple, small, more sort of suited to the size of the community solutions that are going to make everybody better off in the long run and not essentially break the bank. Because remember, Wyoming is facing multi-million-dollar deficit in the upcoming biennium. So the next legislative session will start in next February. The legislators are already going to be in December starting to talk about where they're going to save money. Because the last consensus revenue estimating group report, which gave a sort of a guesstimate for what the deficit was going to be for the 17-18 biennium, was last January. And at the time, they were saying they were going to be about $333 million short, assuming that oil prices went back up to $50 a barrel, which they haven't done. So we can imagine that the size of the deficit is going to be much bigger. So one of the things that the government could do to make it an easy cut, because people don't like corporate welfare, is that they could start getting rid of all of these crony capitalist corporate welfare types of programs. And that's what we need to start asking our politicians to do.
Well, let's, for just a minute, because I know, Maureen, you were on about what we can do on let's say on a state level about, but what about, do you have any ideas on a local level, what we can do with our representatives, especially during an election year? How do you talk to these people?
Well, it's pretty simple. You just need to find out. If you go to your town's website, there they'll have the city council meetings, and then you can find out what the agenda is. And I know here in Cheyenne they actually have them taped. Now, I will warn you that these can be long and tedious. So it's a good idea to figure out ahead of time what they're going to be talking about. And if they're going to be talking about or voting on any of these kinds of corporate welfare projects, like funding for the bathroom or whatever else they've got on the go, you'll be able to find it in the agenda. Then people do need to go to these things that your local government especially needs to hear what it is you think about this. It's a bit of a fallacy in a way where we talk about how the local government is the closest to the people. That doesn't really seem to be the case, because it seems like a lot of times people don't really know what's going on at at City Hall, basically. But you can fight City Hall and win. You just need to be aware of what's going on and try to get a little bit involved as well. And if you really do feel that you're completely outraged, then you need to actually, I mean, it's a really good idea to then run for office, run for a seat on city council.
Yeah.
Those are the ways that you can prevent these sorts of things from happening. You know, get together with your friends, start talking about these things that are going on, and otherwise, it's this problem is just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. Because, as I said, we're moving into this period of economic downturn. This is a time where you start hearing politicians really start playing up how they can spend all this money to bring economic development, into town, when a very, very high percentage of the time, it's just a great big waste of money. Like probably the bathroom in Gillette, for instance, or what I was writing about this week, and people can go to our website, wyliberty.org, to read about this great big fancy new airport they want to build down here in Cheyenne, a city that lost 50% of its seating capacity, the air seating capacity. So in other words, airplane capacity in the last year. They want to build a big new terminal. It's one of these, if we build it, they will come. And that's really what you see a lot in these, at the state level, at the local level. Oh, gee, if only we build and, fill in the blank here, then we'll increase tourism. Like you were saying, people are going to want to come and take pictures of this bathroom. It's going to increase tourism.
Absolutely.
Over and over you hear these things. And I mean, I sit in these meetings thinking, honestly, do you really believe that anybody actually believes this? And why are you not talking about the downside here? You're building this big building here in Cheyenne, a new terminal. You may actually lose all airline service. Here in Cheyenne, we're just an hour and a half away from the Denver airport. There was a great big wide-out Wyoming Department of Transportation report that showed that it's extremely unlikely that things are going to get better anytime soon. And yet you've got this group of people from the city and from the county, because this happens at the county government level as well, getting together and bringing this $18 million building proposal for the city of Cheyenne to build this great, huge terminal with this expectation that somehow or another airlines are going to come here when all they're doing is getting out of the state as fast as they can. And that's what we've seen in a number of cities in Wyoming. But it's a problem that's going on across the country. And if you look at it, it's really, a lot of this has got to do with federal regulations that have increased the amount of pilot airtime necessary to be able to qualify as a co-pilot. So really, it's government regulation creating a problem that now we need government help with to overcome. I mean, talk about self-perpetuating. I mean, this is a death spiral.
Yeah. Well, okay, you got to be persistent in showing up, too, to nag these people. Running for office is important. Oh, I've got Maureen to send you information. Gillette's famous rock pile museum. Oh, the people who work there want a multi-million-dollar upgrade because, people are going to come from all over the country to see a pile of rocks. Maureen, thanks for coming on. Good story as always. Thank you.
Bye.